Hi, everyone. Let's get started. I'm Gagne. I'm a staff editor at Fast Company, and I also co-host our podcast, Most Innovative Companies. And more importantly, I don't really like to speak for people, so I'm going to ask my panelists to introduce themselves. And Stacey, let's start with you.
Great to be in Austin. I'm Stacey Tank. I'm the CEO of a beauty company. We have two brands, Jason Wu Beauty and KimChi Chic. Do we have any TikTok shoppers in here? You might know us from the Puff Puff Pass.
Hey guys, woo! Yeah, woo woo. My name is Kat Hantas. I am one of the three founders of 21 Seeds Tequila. I started the company out of a need to find an alternative to wine back in 2019, and it became the #1 fastest growing flavored tequila company in the US, and we sold it to Diageo 3 short years later, and I'm really excited to be here and talk to you guys about that.
Hi guys, I'm Danielle Guizio, owner and designer of Guizio, a global women's brand, and we are so excited to be here today amongst the most inspirational women. And yeah, let's get to it.
Danielle, I'm going to start with you. Guizio started pretty organically as a t-shirt business. Tell me about the first time you sold out of inventory.
So I started my brand with only $400. I started out of my parents' basement. I was working retail during that time and in community college taking business courses. And I decided one day, I had a crazy health scare, and I was in Sloan Kettering for months on end and going through a bunch of surgeries. And after that, I was kind of just like, okay, if I can go through that, I can quite literally go through anything, and I can really test myself and push the needle. And I was young and just courageous, and I really went for it. So I started my brand only a few months after that, and we went live on the website. I shot everything myself. I did everything from the website to the imagery to the design, and we launched, and everything pretty much sold out within minutes. And I just remember sitting in my childhood bedroom, looking at the sales come in, and for the first time, it's like the first time I'm seeing money. So I'm like, oh my God, this is happening so fast. At the time, I'm just like, I'm gonna be rich. Like, this is so crazy. But I had a lot ahead of me and a lot to learn ahead of me. But yeah, I took it slow, but we were going very fast, and I'm just appreciative for the whole ride.
And what role has social media played in your company's success?
Social media has taken over, has really, I owe everything to social media, because the celebrities and stylists that believed in me from the start, I mean, that's where I look at social media as if it's our new age billboard and our resume. So anything you're putting on social media is who you want to present to the viewers and to the consumers, and also in a business sense as well. So all of a sudden, we had a bunch of inquiries from the biggest top celebrities, the biggest stylists. And at the time, I was working out of a little doctor's office, because that was like all we could afford. Our rent was like $600 a month. So all of our inventory was in this tiny doctor's office once I moved out of my parents' basement. And the top stylists of like Hailey Bieber and Kylie Jenner, they'd be like, oh, we'd love to come into the showroom and see the collection. And I'd be like, oh, we're booked, actually. Like, we're fully committed today. Meanwhile, I was in New Jersey in a literal doctor's office, like piled with boxes and inventory all around us. But we did what we have to do. And today, obviously, things look much different. And I have a lot of humility, and I feel very humble. And I'm so grateful for all of those moments, because they brought me to where I am today.
So, Kat, you launched in 2019. Obviously, the pandemic happened. And from what I understand, your customers they couldn't really discover your products in bars. Tell me about how social media played a role in your company's growth.
Yeah, so most spirits brands are built in bars and restaurants. That's where you sort of discover brands. And then hopefully the consumer has an interesting experience with them in a bar or restaurant, and then they go and they buy them in retail, and that's where the majority of sales actually happen, is in retail. 80% of sales are in retail. And from the beginning, we had a whole different playbook. Like, we weren't going to run that playbook at all, because we were really focused on finding female consumers. We wanted to make this, we created this product for women in the beginning, and specifically for moms, because when you don't have big marketing budgets, like you gotta start with somebody. You gotta be something to someone before you can be everything to everyone. So we were very focused on moms, and we're like, moms don't discover bars and brands, or brands and bars. So we, from the onset, we're like, we're gonna find her where she is. We're gonna meet her where she is, and that's places like Pinterest. Like we spent a lot of time on Pinterest, driving easy at-home cocktail solutions on Pinterest. Nobody was, when you talk to agencies about Pinterest, they don't talk about Pinterest. But we were very focused on Pinterest. We were very focused on, Pop Sugar, Well and Good, and just places where she discovers brands. And that was the playbook that we were running. So we wanted to find her where she was to discover us, and then make sure that we were available, in distribution, in retail. So that part was like just a lot of tenacity and like figuring out like who knows who and getting in front of the buyer. And there are a lot of gatekeepers who are trying to keep you away from those buyers. So we had to figure out how to get to them. And once we got to them, our proposition was a good proposition because we were hitting every trend going on in spirits, right? We were tequila, we were flavors, people want flavor. We were the wellness trend, right? We're 35% ABV. We make lower calorie, better tasting tequila cocktails, no sacrifice on taste. So we were hitting all the trends, but we just had to put ourselves in front of that buyer, took care of that piece, and then, we were finding her online. We also had the benefit of like other women. The beauty of women is when they find something they like, they want to tell people about it. So we had like Jessica Alba found the brand, Katie Kirk found the brand just organically, and then they started posting about us on social media. So it all kind of came together, like the three stools of the three legs of the stool, and it all worked out. So when the pandemic hit and everybody was scrambling to get online, we were already online. We were already talking to her online, connecting with her, communicating with all of it. So for us, it worked out really well.
Why was getting in retail and not just being direct to consumer so important to you?
Yeah, so well, first of all, you really can't, it's not a seamless experience. Like you can't sell, as a spirits brand, there's a 3-tier system in the United States. I can't sell directly to, my end user, right? Like that, my girl. I have to sell to my distributor. The distributor sells to the retailer. So even when you buy, say, through Reserve Bar or something, you're not actually buying directly from the brand. So we couldn't do that. So we had to be in store. Now there, we had a very specific strategy. Like we weren't looking to be in there's mom and pop, sort of the general market, and then there's mass retail. And for us, again, we had a very specific playbook. We wanted to be where she was. So she shops, and I live in California. That's where the brand launched. In California, you can buy booze in grocery stores. In Texas, you cannot. But in the great state of California, you can. They make it easy for you. So we did that. And so we wanted to be in grocery. We wanted to be at Target. We wanted to be, at Total Wine & More and Bevmo and all those places. So we set out to do that, and that just meant like, okay, let's start with who's on the board, and who do we know, and let's go to LinkedIn and like figure out who we know. And like there was not one stone we didn't turn over to try to connect and get to those buyers, because there's a million people trying to keep you out, including all the big brands, right? There's only so much shelf space. Everyone's fighting for it. So we just had to fight harder.
Stacey, you mentioned being part of the TikTok shop. You were a launch partner with TikTok shop in 2023? Yes. How did that change the trajectory of your business?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by social commerce. I think retail will never be the same again. We used to go to stores forever, and then we all got phones, digital phones in our hands, and we can shop in an interconnected or omni-channel way. I worked on the executive team of Home Depot when all that omni-channel stuff was happening, and we thought that was the future. Today, we work with over 10,000 affiliate influencers every month on TikTok Shop. They make a video, they talk about something they like or they don't like, but if they include a link, they become the retailer. They take 18%, sometimes 20, 25, 30, depends on what's going on. They take a cut of that sale and they can make an incredible living doing that. And as a consumer, I love that. I have a big dog, a Bernedoodle. And sometimes I need a new harness or a leash, and I'll go on TikTok Shop, and I can ask, is he a large or an extra large? You know, he's 50 pounds. Should I get the large, you know, width or the medium width? So my confidence to transact as a consumer is so much higher because I can also be entertained by that content. So social commerce, TikTok Shop went from nothing in the middle of 2023, it launched in the fall, to tens of billions of dollars in 18 to 24 months. It's bigger than Nordstrom. It's bigger than IKEA. It's bigger than Kohl's in the US. And I think there's no turning back now. And being a launch partner was wild because we launch a lot of things. We're on the Flip app, we're on Whatnot, you know, we're trying things. And most of the time it's nice, but it doesn't generate millions of dollars of sales overnight, hundreds of thousands of orders going out of our warehouse. So that year we grew 170%. And we're bootstrapping. We've never raised capital, so you can imagine it was a little bit of chaos in the warehouse when we went viral.
So I want to talk about going viral. Do you remember the first product that you sold out that went viral, and what was that like? How did you meet customer demand?
The Puff Puff Pass, which is a loose setting powder, now comes in 9 different shades, but that was the product. And the reason I think is because in a visual format, you can see the impact that it makes. So folks are putting it on half of their face, you could see the other half of their face, and it looks like a real life filter. It's also a Korean or K-beauty formula. We're Korean founded, and our head of product development is Korean. So a lot of these things were resonating with consumers. And I think literally we went to sleep one night and woke up with 10,000 orders instead of 100. And that's
Is there one influencer who really
there are probably 4 or 5 that have made a big impact, but we probably now have 25 that do 5 figures a month for us on TikTok Shop. And then we're also available in traditional retail and Amazon and our own e-com and whatnot. But yes, I think we ran out of that product, and then when you're growing over 100% and you've never raised capital, you've got to figure out how you're going to cut the next POs. And if you don't have a laser focus on your cash forecasting, I say cash is queen. Cash is queen, because we all want to retain equity and not take on debt. So you have to know how much cash you have so you know if you can or can't keep up with demand.
So speaking of keeping up with demand, Danielle, how did you deal with scaling quickly, and how did you find the right manufacturing partners to deal with the influx of orders?
Yeah, I mean, it takes time finding the right manufacturer partners. It's like literally finding the right partners, business partners in general. So you have to really weed through them. And a lot of the time you find out maybe even years later that person isn't right for you. But it's all about finding the right team and the closest and also personal connections. For us, like, we're flying to China. We're making a point to make these like personal connections with our factories so that we can grow together, and we're kind of like in it together. A lot of my factories, a few of my top factories that I work with, like, I'm very close with them, you know. So for us, like, for me, I'm like, if we can get this order in, then both of us can grow together. And it's a very strong understanding, and it's like we love each other, you know. We're like very close. We're always checking in on each other, and I think that alone is very important, because I don't think that maybe the average consumer or the average customer understands, like, there are human beings like making the clothes. Like, whether we're purchasing 30,000 units of our most viral micro mini skirt, at the end of the day, these are humans that are creating the product. So going to the factories and speaking to the whole team it was very, very important for me, and definitely eye-opening. So yeah, I think it takes time finding the right team.
And how did you sort of, when you were initially just looking for a manufacturer, were there any tests you did? How did you vet them?
I quite literally just was looking on Google, and that's how Google, Alibaba. I was going to LA, working with factories in LA that my friends had referred me to, and quite literally just being on foot. And again, just weeding out the best potential candidates, because you're looking at them almost as if they're employees at the same time. You're understanding their capacity, what their quality of product that they're making, what type of product that they're best at. Like, our factory that specializes in our corsets is not necessarily our factory that specializes in our micro mini, which is like a spandex stretch skirt. So you have to really understand all of your factories and what they are great at.
Stacey, you mentioned never raising capital. Why is that?
we like a challenge, I suppose, and we were always able to keep up. I think there could be a moment, we're having some conversations now with retailers. When you go into retail, you have to invest in fixturing, slotting fees, inventory. So when it's multi-millions, it's harder for us to self-fund it. But so far, we've said, let's do a 300 store test. Okay, let's do a 400. You know, we always were able to inch along. And we've introduced, I have an eclectic background, but I was a former CFO. So we've introduced some more visibility so we know where's the money, what's the timing, can we shorten the time between when we have to cut these POs and when the revenues come in. And so far, so good. But I've got one of my lucky numbers is 13. And I have my lucky list of my 13 favorite investors. So if I ever do need to call them because we got a massive order from Ulta or something, then yeah, the day could come.
Kat, how did you deal with scaling issues? What was your first run like?
Yeah. Oh, that actually was really interesting because so we actually infuse. Like we truly 21 Seeds is an actual infusion process. It's infused tequila. And you know, we sit and we're the leader in the flavored tequila category, but like I hate that word because to me, like I don't like flavored spirits. They're overly sweet. They have a weird aftertaste like you're sucking on a nickel and smell like a Jolly Rancher. And like that's just not appealing to me. People who buy 21 Seeds, they only buy 21 Seeds. Like that is their tequila. We have a cucumber jalapeno, Valencia orange, grapefruit hibiscus, all things that you normally find in tequila cocktails. So it's like, in my mind, these are just 3 blancos with a profile. It's like if you like gin, you like juniper. Gin is flavored vodka, right? Like, so how far back do you want to go, right? So in my mind, these are 3 blancos. They look like blancos, like they walk like a duck, they act like a duck. You can use them in a spritz, you can use them in a margarita, in a paloma. So people who buy 21 Seeds, this is their tequila that they buy. So, and the reason that is because it's just a really smooth, with a hint of flavor, like a profile, that drinks like a tequila. Now, to do that, we went down to Mexico, nobody's infusing. There's like, we had to build refrigeration. We had to find a partner that would actually infuse at scale. And we were 3 women, 3 moms who didn't come from beverage, who didn't come from spirits. And we were like, hey, listen, by the way, not only do we want you to make this tequila for us, but we need to take this whole section of your distillery and outfit your equipment so we can actually infuse at scale. So we hadn't tried it. And then we went down to do the first run. We get down there, we'd worked out this formulation and this process. When we got down there and we went and tried to do it at scale, it didn't work. And that night, we got our first PO, and our first PO was from Bevmo. For those of you who know, Bevmo is like 147, it's like our version of Specs, 147 stores, like Total Wine and More, but like that sell spirits in California. It's a big chain. And we got all 3 SKUs into all 147 stores, and we needed to have this product stateside within like 2 months, which is really fast. So we were like, holy shit, what are we gonna do? Like, how's this gonna? So we had to go and like truly innovate on the spot to figure out how to actually make this thing work. And we figured it out, it happened, and then we were like off and running. So they bought our entire first run. So we were immediately right back down there making tequila again.
So Danielle, like Stacey, you've never raised money for your business.
We have.
Oh, you have? Sorry. I know you bootstrapped it. Well, then, okay, I guess my question is, I know you bootstrapped in the beginning because we talked about that.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize you needed to raise money?
We've always been super profitable since literally year 2. And we had a lot of capital. We really didn't need the help, but for me, I don't come from a family that has expertise in the fashion world or in the fashion business. I hardly even had friends that I could rely on. So for me, it was all about understanding the infrastructure and what we really needed to grow the business. So I wanted a partner that I could rely on that understood, and of course, trial and error were brands that I looked up to that they own. So that was very important to me, and also just someone that I felt, because I don't have a business partner, it was just me. So someone that I felt that I could really rely on in all aspects of the business, where I can solely focus on creative and solely focus on marketing and everything that it takes to really drive the business, while having someone create the fortress around us. And that was about 2 years ago. A year and a half ago, yeah.
Kat, you had a remarkably quick exit. I mean, it was founded in 2019, acquired in 2022. How did that come about?
Sorry, I think it's off. But okay, I'll take yours for a sec. Yeah. So, okay, number one, we made an amazing tasting product. Can't market your way out of a bad product. So we made an amazing tasting product. We absolutely filled a white space in a very crowded space. Like we managed to find the white space in a crowded space. Tequila guys like George Clooney had exited to Diageo as well. So everybody was like, it was like running to come into the tequila space, and there was like celebrity brands. And what the space we found was like, we were like, okay, there were like shots, and then there was sipping tequila, really being marketed like scotches and whiskeys to the male consumer. And nobody was really speaking to that female consumer who actually was like driving the growth in the category, but she was drinking it as a spritz, right? It was like tequila, soda, 3 limes, tequila, soda, splash of juice. And we were like, okay, this product fits beautifully in that serve. And so the occasion we were going after was that easy at home, entertaining occasion, that wine occasion. And we were focused on her, solving all her pain points, being where she is. And that's the playbook we ran. Everything always like right back to her. Where does she shop? How's she going to discover the brand? So the reason it happened so fast, I think, is because we said no to a lot of stuff. We did not get distracted. Everybody wants free tequila, right? Like you're having a party, an event. Of course you're calling the tequila girl. But like we said no to a lot of stuff. If it didn't serve her, we were out because we didn't have big budgets at all. The year we sold, we spent $1 million in total, to get our cases to, the number of cases that we were selling. And a lot of people haven't heard of us, but like when we sold, we were selling as much like bottles of 21 Seeds as like Ryan Reynolds was selling of Aviation Gin. And he's like the biggest movie star in the world, right? So a lot of people are drinking. So we found this consumer, we found the occasion, and we stuck to the playbook with a really good product. And that's why it happened so quickly. And you have to win. Like we were the winners, right? The number 1 and 2 brands pretty much sell, and then the rest kind of are running businesses.
So now I have a speed round, which is I'm going to ask you all the same question quickly. Stacey, we'll start with you. What piece of advice would you give founders of companies that are scaling super fast?
Yeah, probably twofold. I love this point around there has to be excellence. You have to keep your customer right at the center and make things they're going to love. And I think there's a creative tension with startups where they say you have to ship product, even, you have to put things out into the world before they're ready and they're 60% done. And I hear that. But whatever you put in the market, it has to delight your consumers. Because if they are willing to spend their hard-earned money and try your product, and if they don't like it, they're not coming back. So I really think excellence and not thinking about an exit. Don't do this for an exit. Do it because you love it. Do it because you're obsessed with fulfilling a consumer need. And then if you do great work, good things happen, right? I believe in that. I don't like to hear this focus on I'm going to exit, because you put your energy into the wrong thing. And then I would just reiterate, cash is queen.
Don't run out of money.
Kat, what would you say?
So I'd say 2 things. One, a friend of mine once called me. He was a guy, and he's like, "Listen, you're a maximalist." I'm like, "Go on." And
well, we all see your coat.
But I was like, describe, what do you mean by that? And he's like, you squeeze every drop out of every opportunity that you have. And I think as founders of small companies that are scaling quickly, you have got to connect all the dots. Like you get a placement in a magazine or, anything, you got to send it around everywhere. Send it to your buyers, your prospective buyers, your retail partners. You got to send it to potential investors, actual investors. Like you have to be your own PR agent and connect all those dots so that it's like fake it till you make it. Like make everything seem bigger than it is. And we did a really good job of that. And I especially am like the queen of that. I think I'm really, really good at that. And then the other thing I would say is like fire people quickly. If it's not working, cut it. Like don't belabor like anything. It's like if it's a right fit or not. You got to get rid of people fast. And I would say, in that regard, sometimes you hire like a salesperson that's like really personable and everybody likes like the game show host, but he doesn't know how to make the ask and close the deal. Get rid of them. Don't be like, well, people like him. No, gonzo. Like if you're going to scale, you're going to grow the company, you need to like make moves quickly.
What would you say, Danielle?
I would definitely say that for us, it's definitely been, I've had my business for about 10 years now. So it feels like slow and steady wins the race, where we're living in a generation where, especially on Instagram, we're seeing brands come to life and succeed extremely fast, even within like 2 years span. But I took my time and I did everything very strategically. But I do feel like there is an aspect, an element of just taking your time and understanding your business and really understanding your consumer. Because if you understand your consumer to a T, for myself, I put in the work this past year traveling to China, to Japan, to Alabama, to Dallas, like really understanding her from top to bottom, understanding like her essence, her aura, what she's wearing, what sneakers is she wearing with Guizio, like what exactly is it about her that we're going to grow together. And not only like that, but it's for the long game, and it's for the long haul. And I believe it's just taking your time and understanding your consumer.
Danielle, I'll stick with you. I've got another speed round question. What advice would you give to companies hoping to sell product or advertise on social media?
I think, again, you have to understand your consumer because you're targeting them directly. And for us, even an example is it was Amazon Prime Day, and I went to bed, and I got in bed at the end of a work day, and I was like, shit, like I missed Amazon, sorry. I was like, I missed Amazon Prime Day. And I was like laying in bed, I'm like, what is Amazon? I don't even know really what that is. I don't even know what kind of discount I was getting. All I knew is that I missed it. So as I was falling asleep, in my sleep, I thought about, okay, what if we took our bestseller, our top selling item is our micro mini skirt. It's a stretch mini skirt, and it's built-in underwear. And I was like, what if we took our best-selling item and we gave it its own day? And we just its own day, aside from all the Black Friday madness, aside from putting the whole collection on sale, let's take our bestseller, let's market at a price point that was extremely competitive with, for us, a lot of brands knock off all of our products, and that's obviously the downfall and the bane of my existence, but it's okay, we persevere. So we priced it at an extremely great price point, and we knocked it out of the park, and in 24 hours we made $2 million. And but but not only that, but we made a point to make sure, I was like, guys, we gotta go nuts with this. Like, look at Amazon Prime Day. Like, let's go nuts. Like, pedal to the metal. Let's TikTok, social media. And like, it can be gimmicky, and it could be fun, and it could be lighthearted. Like, let's touch the consumer. Like, what is it about marketing that we're all recognizing that really touches us? And it's emotion, either whether it's like comedy or sentimental. We have to feel something from marketing. And that for us took it home, and we were just cashing out on micro minis like all day. Like we saw it in our sleep, and I'm so grateful. But yeah, so it was a fun ride, and that also had led us to now, even months later from Black Friday, where so many people had bought the product that it's even more viral. It's growing bigger and bigger. And the business has just grown bigger than me and bigger than I can imagine just for this one item. But I think when you have a bestseller, you have to be thinking to the future, okay, what's our next bestseller? Like, let's get on it. Like, we can't bank on this one item forever. So that would probably be it.
Stacey, what advice would you give?
I'm not a big fan of paying for customer acquisition. I think if you tell interesting stories and you connect with your consumers, that you'll have a great engagement and it'll lead to a commercial outcome a lot of the time. We didn't do paid advertising at all for the first 5 years. We're now dipping our toe in the water, but we focus on telling stories and also being funny. The world is scary, and it's sad, and it's stressful, and we're all reading the news, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's just chaos. So we try to bring a moment of levity, a moment of joy, a moment of self-expression to people, and to find kind of a refuge in that is a beautiful thing, and it seems to resonate.
Kat, what advice would you give?
What was the question? I lost it. I'm like,
I was saying, what advice would you give someone, or a company that's hoping to connect with people on social media, sell a lot of units via social media, or just connect?
I wish, by the way, we could be on TikTok. Unfortunately, the platform is just too young for us, which is such a bummer. I would just echo what the girls have said. You know, I mean, they like you got we did a lot of funny content. We tried a lot of things. You know, permission to be like wacky and silly. We didn't really like follow too many trends. You know, like we were focused on what our voice was and what we were all about. And then we just tried to show up authentically, and you know, that's what we did. And then like, again, we're not selling stuff directly through the internet, so it was all about like driving them to where they could buy. And so we did a lot of that too, actually. As a brand that can't really sell online, it was more about like showing people where you could buy us in a fun way.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. I think we're out of time. So
Thank you guys.